In this video, we will be making frequency distributions and histograms. We will organize raw data using a frequency table, and then we will construct histograms and relative frequency histograms. We will try to recognize basic distribution shapes, uniform, symmetric, skewed, and bimodal, and interpret graphs in the context of the data setting. A frequency table partitions data into classes or intervals and shows how many data values are in each class. The classes or intervals are constructed so that each data value falls into exactly one class. Here are the steps to making a frequency table, and I'll go over these in detail with an example, but we're going to determine the class width, which is the width of each interval. We'll create the distinct classes, determine class boundaries, tally the data into classes, determine each class frequency, and then compute their relative frequencies, which we'll use for the relative frequency histogram. Here we have some data about the payroll for some Major League Baseball teams back when the movie Moneyball came out. We're going to divide this payroll data into 6 classes and construct a table with 5 columns: class limits, class boundaries, tally, frequency, and relative frequency. And then we'll create a histogram and relative histogram to represent the data. The first step is to determine the class width. Luckily, this data is in order. So we're going to take the largest value minus the smallest value divided by the desired number of classes. And in this problem, we want 6 classes. So I'm going to divide by 6, which gives me 15.3. Then we will always increase the computed value to the next highest whole number. Even if we get a whole number for our answer, we're still going to bump it up to the next highest whole number. In this case, I'm going to go up to 16, and that's going to be my class width, or the length of each interval. Now we're going to create the distinct classes. The lower class limit of the first class is the smallest data value. So I'm going to start with my smallest number from that table, which is 34. And then we're going to add the class width to that lower class limit to get the next lower class limit. So I'm going to add 16 to 34, and that gives me 50. And I'm going to add 16 again and do all my lower class limits first by continuously adding 16, the class width. So then I keep adding 16, I get 82, add 16 again, 98, add 16 again, and I get 114. Then the upper class limit is going to be, for the first class, is going to be 1 below the lower class limit of the next class. So I'm going to go from 34 to 49, from 50 to 65, from 66 to 81, 81 to 97, 98 to 113. And if you notice, to get from the lower class limit to the upper class limit, we actually add 15. So if I add 15 to 114, I get 129. Step 3 is to determine the class boundaries. To find the upper class boundaries, you're going to add 0.5 to the upper class limits, and to find the lower class boundaries, you're going to subtract 0.5 from the lower class limits. So if I subtract 0.5 from 34, I get 33.5, and if I add 0.5 to 49, I get 49.5. And then my next class boundary goes from 49.5 to 65.5, 65.5 to 81.5, 81.5 to 97.5, 97.5 to 113.5, 113.5 to 129.5. And now we tally the number of data values that fall into each of the class limits. So our first class limit is from 34 to 49 million, which would be these data values right here. And there are 9 of them, so I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my 5th one is diagonal, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I put a 9 for the frequency. My next tally is from 50 to 65 million, so 50 up to 63. It's nice that our data values are in order for this. There are 8 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and an 8 for frequency. 66 to 81 would be these 6 data values right here. And then 82 to 97 would be these 3. And 98 to 113 would be these 3. And then there's just one, that last one, the New York Yankees, that's in our highest class. And the next thing you want to do is total up your frequency column and make sure that it adds up to the number of data values in your data set. So if I add 9 plus 8 plus 6 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1, I do get 30, which is the number of data values in my set. So that's good. Now I'm going to take, for relative frequency, I'm going to take each frequency and divide it by the total number of frequencies, or the number of data values. And 9 over 30 is 0.3. 8 over 30 is about 0.27. Make sure you round to 2 or 3 decimal places, not just 1, to make it a little more accurate. Next, 6 over 30 is 0.2. 3 over 30 is 0.1. 3 over 30 is 0.1. And 1 over 30 is about 0.03. Now, you also want to total up your relative frequencies, and those should add up to about 1. Sometimes you might get like 0.99 or 1.01, depending on your rounding, but it should be about 1. And if we think about these in percent form, these are decimal forms, but this would indicate that about 30% of the teams are in that first class, 27% in the second, 20%, 10%, 10%, and 3%, which does add up to 100%. Now we're going to use our frequency table to make a histogram. We're going to place our class boundaries on the horizontal axis and frequencies on the vertical axis, the y-axis. The origin is the point 0, 0, which is that corner right there. So that's 0 for x and 0 for y. And for our class boundaries, I want 6 evenly spaced classes. So what I'm going to do is make a mark at the beginning and the end. And my first little tick mark is 33.5. And my last is going to be 129.5. And I want to get 6 evenly spaced intervals. So I'm going to cut that in half, and then I'm going to cut each of those halves in 3 equal parts as best as I can. And we really want to do a good job making an even scale. Now, that would be my next, so went from 33.5 to 49.5 was my first class, and then up to 65.5, 81.5. 97.5 and 113.5. Now, it's not an even scale from 0 to 33.5, so what I do is I make this little mark right here to indicate that I know that that's not an even scale, but I did that just to have plenty of space for my histogram. Now for the frequencies, my highest frequency is 9, so I'm going to go up to 10. I'm going to cut that in half and make that my 5 mark. And then if I make 4 little tick marks from 0 to 5 that are evenly spaced, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 more between 5 and 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can number those or not as long as you have a constant scale, but it needs to be evenly spaced. And then I'm going to label my axes. This is frequency. And on the bottom, those class boundaries represent the salaries of the payroll in millions of dollars for those teams. So payroll in millions of dollars. Now I'm going to make my bars, and each bar is going to extend from one class boundary to the next and go to the height of the correct frequency. My first one should go up to 9. My second one goes up to 8. And notice each bar is going, extends the length of that interval. Next, 6. And also notice that my bars are touching. They always have to be touching. There should be no space between them. 3, another 3, and then a 1. You can also put numbers at the top just to help the person reading your graph understand what your numbers represent. And finally, we're going to make a relative frequency histogram. Again, I'm going to put the class boundaries on the x-axis. So 0 is at the origin. I skip some space with that little mark, and then I put 33.5. I'm going to end at 129.5 again. Cut it in half, and then cut those halves in thirds so I get 6 evenly spaced intervals. And I label them. And then on the y-axis, this time I'm going to put relative frequencies. So if we look at the relative frequency column of our table, the highest relative frequency was 0.3. So I'm going to make my top mark 0.3. And then I want to pick a nice even scale. So I'm going to try and cut that into thirds, equal thirds, and make this 0.1 and 0.2. And then I think I'll also cut those in half just to get a little more accuracy and make this 0.05, 0.15, and 0.25. And I'm going to label this relative frequency. And again, payroll in millions. Okay, so now to make my bars, I just, same thing as before, I'm going to extend that first bar up to 0.3. My second one to 0.27, which would maybe be about here. And then 0.2. And then 0.1. another 0.1 and 0.03. And there's my relative frequency histogram. Again, my bars are touching, there's no space between them. And real quick, let's take a look at our histogram and our relative frequency histogram side by side. Notice they have the same shape. Also, I see that I forgot to label my tops of my histograms. I think it's helpful to do that. This was 0.3, 0.27, 0.2, 0.1, 0.1, and 0.03. But the shapes are the same because those values are proportional. So they should end up having the same appearance. One last thing I almost forgot, we need to talk about distribution shapes. We have mound shape, where most of the data falls in the middle. Uniform or rectangular is where each of the classes have about the same height. They don't have to have exactly the same height. And then we have skewed histogram, where there's a tail in one direction. And when it says skewed left, the tail is to the left. And the reason we call that skewed left is because most of the data values are to the right. But there are some low data values that would be outliers possibly that are skewing the data to the left. And then a data set is skewed to the right if the tail is on the right side, like in this one. And then a bimodal histogram is one where the data clusters around two different modes. We have a mode around here and another one over here.